how's it been since what you said was an emotional?
Yeah, it's a really disappointing day, and it's been a disappointing few games because, you know, we've played the top three teams in league position. I think we deserve more from the games, but we've just not found the big enough moments. And we didn't against Huddersfield, and obviously with every game that goes by, it becomes harder and harder. But then you look about what happened over the weekend, and you look at results, and we're still firmly in the hunt. We've got to produce performances. We've got to find those big moments. We've got to stop making the silly mistakes. You know, I think if I look as a collective in all four games, and the quality of opposition that we've played, we've not been mullered by anybody. We've not been on the back foot for huge periods of any of the games, if not all of those from a collective point of view. We've got the ball in a position where we wanted it to be, but possibly not crossed it early enough, not been brave enough to take the shots when we should have done. Maybe took an extra touch and not found that quality that we have found previously. So tension sort of grows a little bit, and obviously pressure sort of mounts on that. Then you make some silly mistakes in your box or in around your box that other teams clinically punish, which Huddersfield did, which Hull did, and certainly Fulham did. But there's enough good play in those last four games to know that we're not completely out of form, and we're really struggling individually and as a team. We just have to find those big moments. The bit in between, as I keep saying, I think it's been all right. From a stats point of view, and I know it doesn't, and I've said it before, I think sometimes these are stuff that can give you a little bit of comfort. You know, we've had the majority of the ball, we've had the penalty area entries, crosses have been ridiculous, the amount of crosses that we've had, but how many good ones have we had? How many times have we got into those areas and found those key moments? And we had enough against Fulham, we had a certain amount against Bournemouth, we certainly had enough against Hull, and we had enough, especially the first 35 minutes against Huddersfield. But you don't score that first goal, or the longer it goes on, then people tighten up, and we have to somehow get over that. Getting a goal would be good. Getting a first goal would be really good, and hopefully you'll see the team go on then from that moment.
And you didn't pin it all on your strikers, did you, both matches? But how concerned are you by Alfie goals? And also bearing in mind that 3 out of your 5 senior strikers are on loan and possibly heading back to their parent clubs in the summer.
Yeah, listen. When you sign players, I speak to them, I do my own work. They're all in as much as as much as the boys here are permanent. So, that's I don't go along with that they're not trying. I don't go along with any sort of. I think it sometimes gets quite lazy and accusations fly around that players aren't trying or they've give up. They didn't. You saw the last 10 or 15 minutes against Huddersfield. The players were out on the feet. They'd given everything against a side that's had a fabulous season. They gave everything against Bournemouth. They gave everything against Fulham. They gave everything against Hull. This is not an attitude situation. And I'd like you to think the person. The manager that I am and my past record, if I thought that somebody was dangling a foot in and not really giving everything, they wouldn't even be in the 18, let alone have an opportunity of getting out onto the pitch. So you do look a little bit deeper, and I do think of course the responsibility is of the centre forwards, and I think if you do look, they've all missed chances through that 4-game period. And not found that moment that they should have found and what they are paid to do. So I think all of them will be disappointed. Even young Joshy, when he came on against Fulham, had a couple of chances as well. So they're all in that together. We're all in it together as a team, because I think, as I said, going back to where we get the ball and the positions that we get the ball, we've got it there through good play. So they've not been horrendous performances, but we haven't found that bit of quality when it's needed. Whether it's, like I said, the crossing sort of stats are just ridiculous compared to previous clubs that I've had. They're right up there. They're stacked right up there. But we're not finding that bit. And like I said, from the organisation point of view, the first goal, which is key on Saturday, with a team that's sat deep, that wants to play on the counter-attack, even though I can't remember a counter-attack. I think there was one, Sorba Thomas had one long-range shot, which was a so-called counter-attack, but it wasn't really. You know, we get done by a bit of organisation, which, you know, is really, you know, you can't defend that really, because that's a decision that somebody has made, and it's not being backed up by a leadership issue, in my opinion, that somebody should have took control of that situation and organised people better so they don't score. And then you just saw from that point of view really a sort of change in attitude and emotion from everybody and from the crowd, which is completely acceptable. So you know, both boxes really, if we get right, we're a good side, and we certainly need to get them right in the next 4 games. And we can do. We know we can. We're up against a difficult opponent on Saturday. They're on a fabulous run. They're a dangerous side. They've got a real talented group of players. It's been quite a difficult season for the manager, but I think he's showing his character and his quality now, in terms of the performances they're producing. And even if we'd have got maximum points from all 4 games, this would have still have been a really tough game on Saturday, so it doesn't really change.
You said we're all in this together. That, you know, includes the supporters as well. When you first arrived, you wanted to take the supporters with you. There's clearly been some anxiety amongst fans this week that you might be leaving. What can you tell them that you're going to...
I want to work in the Premier League. I want to work in the Premier League with Middlesbrough. That's a be-all and end-all. I've got ambitions to work at the ice level. I think anybody who does anything, any trade, wants to work at the ice level. So, you know, there's been no contact. I had a fabulous meeting with the chairman yesterday, you know, for over 2.5, 3 hours, and then we went out for something to eat. You know, I'm fully committed. If he gets a phone call, if I get a phone call, we've got an open, transparent relationship that we speak to each other all the time. I'm ambitious, but I'm ambitious with Middlesbrough, and I want us to get into the Premier League. We're making plans for this place, to transform this place a little bit, to stuff that I've encouraged or asked to do. There ain't going to be a jacuzzi in the corner for the reporters and the journalists, or a bar that you might want, or a top-notch coffee machine, but something maybe that helps the players. So there's medium and long-term plans. We talked about players for next year. This is still a big rebuild. I think one thing that it may have shown, even though our season's not dead and buried, that I think there's a lot of work to be done in recruitment and how I want it to look going forward. As I said, you know, a lot of things get chucked at you after a game. I think you all understand that. And I think sometimes it's not the easiest time as well to speak to a manager. And I'm not saying I get it right all the time as well, but you know, as I said, you know, I spoke to the owner. We're all on the same page. I think if you look at my past track record as well in terms of longevity, I've had at every football club. I don't jump in and out of football clubs, and I think that's the way the game is. Speculation comes because the team is doing well, or the team has done better than maybe it has done in the past few sort of months. So I think we all have to handle that, and I think, you know, we embrace it and say it's a decent thing, because, you know, we're winning games of football. So if it's talk about Tav, or talk about Del Fry, or talk about Isaiah Jones, it's because they're playing well and the team's winning games of football. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's head down. I'm all in. You know, if anybody who knows me regarding my sort of attitude to a football club, whatever I do, I'm all in until I'm told I'm not all in, and I'm all in. So, you know, if anybody's looking for an excuse about what's gone off over the last two games, there's no excuse, and it is an excuse. It's, you know, we're working away, and you know, whether it's good news for the Middlesbrough fans or not so good news over the last 4 games, I'm here. I'm enjoying my football. I'm enjoying working for a wonderful, fabulous football club. We've had some great times so far over the last 4 or 5 months, and I'm looking forward to some more good times in my period here.
You mentioned you've had discussions about the summer and planning. Do you feel like you're all on the same page, you, Kieran Scott, the chairman, when it comes to those targets, and do you feel like you will be backed to the degree that you want to be backed?
We have to be. I know the financial implications of this division and what happens at football clubs. I've always worked within that, and worked with people, and I'm working with good people now. I've got the same ambition of me of getting the football club back into the Premier League. I want to work in the Premier League, and I want to work in the Premier League with Middlesbrough. And what we have to do is to improve a lot of things, whether it's the infrastructure around here, whether it's the mentality. You know, as I said, going into the last 4 games, I've just seen some bits and pieces that, you know, might stop us in the future from being what I want it to look like. That needs to be changed from a leadership point of view, maybe. And certainly from a squad point of view, they've done great, the boys. But it's a cutthroat industry, and we've all got different views, and we've got some difficult decisions to make in the summer. But I want to improve. I want to improve the group, and I'm sure the chairman knows our role, and he'll back me, and he'll do whatever he needs to do to make that look like how we want it to look.
And finally, it looks like it's kind of 5 teams all scrapping for that last playoff spot now, which you're one.
You wouldn't think so, would you, though? Well, everybody speaks. Everybody thinks we've all chucked it, and I think that's what everybody thinks we're done and dusted. So I would say the majority of people, I would say, you know, without being critical, I would think that, you know, there are a fair few Middlesbrough fans think it's all done and dusted. So
it's not mathematically, though, is it, clearly? So do you feel like you need to win all of your remaining games?
I think we've got to win. We've got to win a chunk of them, haven't we? But who knows? I think, as you said, the ridiculous nature of the Championship yet again over the weekend, the results that it chucked up. I think if you really simplified it, there is 4 or 5 teams in it. I don't know how you look at it, and if we win our game in hand, we're in a pretty decent position, and we've all got to win games of football, haven't we? Listen, I think we're all sat here knowing we should be in a high position, without a shadow of doubt, me more than anybody. But we're not. We've got to deal with that. We've got to deal with the situation that we've not been good enough over the last 4 games, in whatever aspect of the game that is. But we have an opportunity in the next 4 games to still get something out of the season, and you know, it'd be a fabulous achievement if we did. And I think there's still all to play for. Cheers.
Hi, Chris. Do you have to, the next 4 games, do you literally just approach it a game at a time? Is that kind of the mindset and the mentality going into it? Because they're massive, aren't they?
I've done that right the way through. I think it's a dangerous game if you don't. I think if you look too far ahead, you know, you ask me questions about how many points do you think. You know, this is pub talk, isn't it? You know, we're sat in the pub and you're buying me a beer. That'll be your first that you have. And we're sat in a pub and we're talking about, you know, did Liverpool or Man City win the division? Who goes down? Who goes out of the Championship? Who gets the second spot? Who wins Love Island? You know, all stuff like that. So we're talking, and you might say to me, "What do you think?" And I go, "Well, I think that might get it, but I think that definitely gets it, but it might not. We're not all experts, and we've not all got a crystal ball, but we certainly need to win a few games in the next 4. If we win 4, I think, you know, it puts us in a fabulous position. It might not be that, but I've got to say, if we don't win, then we're not going to be there, and I think that's pretty as simple as it can look. But we've got to win. We've got to win games, and we can go and win at Swansea. It would be possibly, you know, looking at it over these last few games, it possibly, with everything that's gone off as well, current form, not scoring, the results that have happened. You know, obviously it becomes a lot more difficult task because the mentality of the group is getting really tested now. So the group has got to show that strength of mentality and courage to go to Swansea and deal with their possession and deal with their really good play and impose our game onto them as well.
Is arguably the toughest thing that you might face over these next 4 games dealing with the pressure that comes, you know, with pushing for the playoffs?
I've not really sensed an incredible anxiety in our play. I didn't even at Bournemouth. I didn't at Fulham. I really didn't at Hull. You chase a game a little bit. We chased a game against Huddersfield. I'd rather chase a game than just sit back and just get beat. I'd rather chuck people forward. I'd rather, you know what, if they have counter-attacks like we had counter-attacks at their place, and it could have been, let's be right about it, we could have beat Huddersfield 5-0 at their place, without a shadow of a doubt. And they could have beat us, that. But they're chasing the game against us, and we're chasing the game against them. But I'd rather have the players have that attitude, be ballsy, and have that attitude to go out the front door and go for it, which I thought we did. I didn't think we sat back and we accepted defeat. I think even when we went 2-0 down with 15 minutes to go, you know, we were still forcing the issue. We just made too many poor decisions, and we didn't find that last bit like I talked about. And when you're 2-0 up away from home, as we did at Huddersfield, it becomes a lot easier to defend a 2-0 lead and just sit everybody behind the ball and break and counter-attack. And, you know, they deserved and earned that position to do that. So that's my opinion and attitude towards it.
Just following up on what you said there, wanting to manage Middlesbrough in the Premier League and wanting to get into the Premier League, can you understand why supporters have been worried about your future this week?
Yeah, I do. Social media and things go around, but people don't really know me well enough and don't know my relationship with the owner well enough and what I feel about this football club. So, you know, I can't stop that. Maybe I could have, you know, killed it and dealt with it in a better way. I get that, you know, I understand that, and maybe looking back, I possibly could have. Like I said, you know, emotional after a tough weekend as well. Of football, but yeah, I get it, but they don't need to, you know, I don't think they need to question my commitment, but speculation and social media and everything, you know, everything sort of catches up and bits and pieces come out and whatever. I think everybody knows the game as well, you know, everybody knows the game. I'm ambitious, I want to work in the Premier League, I want to work in the Premier League with Middlesbrough, you know, and I'm here for it's on a 2.5 year deal, you know. I haven't got a crystal ball in terms of what happens. I haven't. What happens if we lose a load of games? You know, does the owner might want to change it? You know, if the phone goes, you know, I said to Steve, you know, I'd like to think that I've got a relationship. If somebody rang him up and he'd come to me and speak to me, and if someone had contacted me, then I'd go straight to him. It'd be my first port of call to him. You know, whether it's Crew Alexander want a new manager or whether it's Barcelona. I'm not so sure at the moment. I'm going to get the Barcelona gig. I might get the Crew Alexander gig at the moment, the way results are going. But you know, this is the open relationship I've got with Steve, and as long as he's happy about it, then I'm comfortable. And we all share the same ambition. It was the same chat I had when I walked through the door, when I was patient in terms of waiting and you know and obviously getting that opportunity to come here, and it won't change. I think it comes with you winning games of football, and I've had it a bit here now. I've had it at previous clubs. And I think people should, you know, look at some of my past track record as well, and be comfortable in that situation.
It must be quite hard for you as well, in the week running up to an important game, hearing little bits of this sort of speculation and noise.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's uncomfortable. It's part of the job that you have to deal with. But it hasn't detracted from my work out there. And it'll never do. Fully focused. More's gone into this Swansea game than it's gone into any other game, and that's how we roll, and that's how we work, and hopefully we'll get the rewards from the preparation that we're doing. Hopefully the boys will produce a top performance, because we need to get ourselves back on track.
So I would imagine coming in here this morning and saying, you know, look, I'm Middlesbrough manager, I want to get the club in the Premier League. You must feel better for that. Yeah,
I do, because it's the truth. And I tell the truth. That's how it is. So as far as I'm concerned, it's game on, and you know, I wouldn't have had that conversation with Steve yesterday. I wouldn't have had the sort of the meal last night with Kieran and Neil Bowser and Mike and Steve and Alan, and talking about, you know, targets and where we can take the football club and what we need to do within reason, and how we can make the club successful, because that's what I was brought in to do. We've had an early taste of it. Everybody's had an early taste of it. You know, everybody will be extremely disappointed about 4 games. The last 4 games, we've got 4 games to go. We assess the season at the end against Preston, and we'll talk through it, of course, at length, but always moving on as well from a medium and long-term view, which is obviously is to get the club back into the Premier League.
Just last one from me, just on Swansea specifically. They've been out of the Premier League for a number of years now, but obviously you've still got a number of key players. What sort of test will they prove?
Yeah, huge test. As I said, you know, if we'd have got 10 points out of the last 12, this would still have been a really difficult game, because they do pose incredible challenges for whoever they play against, possession-based team. You know, been involved in some incredible games. Obviously, last weekend's game was mad. I should imagine from Russell's point of view, they can score and they can concede. We can't score, and we don't concede. So I don't know. I ain't got a clue how this one's going to go. But they got some really technical players, and you know they're a front foot side, and the results speak for themselves. They've had some really impressive results, and they're in form, but nothing's a given. And when we get on that coach, I expect us to give everything like we have done. And one result, as you know, changes the whole atmosphere and emotion of everybody, and can change around the season. And we have to work as hard as we can to get that result.
Great. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Chris, everything you've had the meetings the last couple of days. Do you remain, as excited about this football club as you always, have been previously?
I think you can tell by my tone. I am. You have to take the disappointments on the chin. You have to take, sometimes the moments of uncertainty. You have to deal with. But I came here to win promotion. I didn't hide behind away from that. It's a club that should be pushing to get out of the division. I think there's been mistakes made in the past, undoubtedly, but hopefully there's a common thread through the football club now, and a plan to do as much as we possibly can to affect that and put us in a position to try and push to get out of the division.
Yeah, you talk about all the kind of outside noise and everything. Ultimately, it's in-house, isn't it, what matters? I mean, have you felt the need to kind of, chat with any of the players about all of what's been going on or anything? Has there been any need for that?
I've got two things to really say about that. In a way, it has got something to do with them, and we have and we will be having talks about them, because they possibly need to know, but as well they need to get on with being professional footballers, regardless of what's happened, and doing their best, whether it's out there or whether it's on a Saturday or a Tuesday night. Just be as best as you possibly can. They're in an incredible privileged position. They get rewarded fantastically well. They're at a great club. They get treated with honesty. Here from myself and the staff, we're demanding. We ask the best of them. They give their best. Sometimes they fall a little bit short, as we all do, me included. Sometimes they make mistakes, as we all do, me included. But they're in a brilliant position. They're playing football at the top end of the Championship. They've got an owner that wants to get into the Premier League. They've got a manager that wants to work in the Premier League and get back into the Premier League with Middlesbrough. And we're the biggest supporters. So just get on with being a player. And I think sometimes that we're far too precious regarding what the players think and how do they feel. Just get on with your job of being a professional footballer, because it's not bad, because they'll possibly be coming in. There'll be a bit of breakfast upstairs for them. It won't be full English, a sausage sandwich, what I've just had. The kit will be all laid out for them. They'll walk into a fabulous changing room. They'll have a team meeting about the preparation for Swansea. They'll go and train on lovely manicured pitches. They'll come back and do the gym work. They'll have a nice hot shower. I'm not boring you, am I? You with me, aren't you? Still with me? They get some more nice food, and they get on a plane and fly to Swansea. And then they get picked up by a coach and taken to a beautiful hotel. So all they have to do is get the performance right. That's all they have to do. So, and you have asked, and everybody does ask me at times, what are the players feeling? What, how are they? At times, I don't give a flying. Just be a good player and get on with your job of being a professional footballer and playing to your best of your ability and giving everything personally and to the team.
And I guess the stage of the season we're in now and what is at stake. These are the games that they should want.
100%. I've got to say, I've not had that feeling that they're bottling it or they're not shying. They're not pulling out of tackles. The distances are covered. Are still incredibly impressive. When I came here, we talked about them tailing off in second half of games. You've seen them. They're not tailing off in second half of games. They're not tailing off at Bournemouth. They're still going for a winner. They weren't tailing off against Hull. They're still trying to get back in the game. They were looking to get back into the game against Fulham. They were looking to get back into the game against Huddersfield. I'm looking at the body language. Some might give different opinions to you guys on body language. I just talked regarding Chris Waddle. I think if everybody looked at Wads, they go, he didn't care about anything. His style and how he played. I know Chris Waddle. He cared incredibly about his performance, about his team's performance. So while people might look into it and go, he don't care, they all care. If they didn't care, they wouldn't be on the pitch. They wouldn't be wearing a shirt for Middlesbrough, and they certainly wouldn't be playing for me. And they're giving everything. But it's the fine details, isn't it? Because quite easily, and we could have been sat here with 10 points out of 12. And people will be going, do you know what? Yeah, I could see that. But we've got 1 point out of 12. What we've got to try and do is affect the next 4 games. And like you said, it's a pressure situation. They're not bottom of the football league, worrying about the futures. They're on decent contracts. Majority of them are under contract. They've all had decent careers so far. They're at a great club. They've got an opportunity still of getting in the playoffs. And you still look at it from a mathematical point of view. I think people are looking at it and still, well, they're right in it. And I think if we'd have won the last 4 games, there'd have been a completely different feel to it, wouldn't they? Looking at our position now, if we'd have won the last 4 games, but I think it's like the old last-minute equaliser or last-minute equaliser. Do you know what I mean? If you're 2-0 up, 3-0 up and you concede, you think, oh, you've lost the game. Or if you're 3-0 down and you score an equaliser, you're coming out with this feeling of, this is brilliant. It's not brilliant at the moment because of previous results, but it's still a hell of a lot to play for, and I'm sure that we all believe that and are looking forward to it.
Yeah. You mentioned the lack of goals recently, and where you think that comes down to, and a high amount of crosses, but not as many successful. I mean, that kind of creativity, that kind of killer instinct.
Yeah.
Can you do much to affect that kind of coaching, or has it just got to come from
It's got to come from within. It's got to come from the players. They've got to find their moments. Like we said, whether it's a big moment defensively, whether it's a big save, whether it's a big block, whether it's an organisation point of view, that's a big moment. Getting it right there, that's a moment. Don't have 3 in the wall because she's not going to shoot from there. Have 2 in the wall. Make sure we're not overloaded at the back stick and we're all doing our jobs. That's a big moment. That's a big moment in terms of, when the ball goes over. I'm seeing it now. I think Riley McGree played a ball over to Bowler in the first 20 minutes, and you go, really, if you had a better touch, that touch is right, it's a tap-in. So we've got into so many positions. So from a stats point of view, areas that we want to get into, the amount of crosses that we've had, from me, we still need to cross it a little bit earlier, in my opinion, when we get into those sort of positions. We need to cross it a little bit earlier, and we need to take a little bit more courage to get our shot off at times, because I think sometimes we overplay and we take an extra touch and we take an extra pass. But a lot of it still is okay to good for a team that we've had for 6 months, really, and knowing that it will get better through more coaching, through maybe better quality into the team in certain positions. But it does come down to finding that big moment, and the best teams and the successful teams find them big moments. You know, Fulham found that big moment, you know, and Huddersfield, to be fair to them, they found those two big moments. They took advantage of our poor organisation to score a goal on a set piece, which is part of the game that we need to deal with better, because we've been undone twice from set pieces in exactly the same. And Jordan Rhodes finds that finish. We've been in those positions so many times. So it's about finding that quality. And if we do, and I believe we have got that quality, then we score the first goal and the whole atmosphere of the game changes.
Just finally for me, Chris, fitness-wise, how's Deal, how's Martin, how's the rest of the squad?
Martin will be involved at the weekend. He'll be in the squad. Dale won't be in the squad. Everybody else is fit to go.
How's Deal looking? Is that potentially a serious one?
No, hopefully, what comes first? Cardiff, Stoke? Cardiff, yeah, touch and go for Cardiff, hopefully for Stoke. Cheers, Ta.
Do you think, it sounds a bit trite to say this, but are you interested to see how your players react to this next 4 games? I think you'll learn things about some of them, because it's been pretty good most of this season. There's been ups and downs, but it's largely been positive. This is probably the biggest test that...
100%, Scott, 100%. I'm looking over the last 4. I'm looking all the time. I'm looking what they're doing training, how they act. What's their reaction to disappointment. Of course, because these are things that, ultimately, if you're going to be successful, you're going to have to deal with. You're going to have to deal with business end of seasons, and some might not be. Some might not be up to it. Some might come through it. I think there's always a chance to impress. Nothing's set in stone. I still think, like I said, going medium and long term, there's a rebuild to do. Steve knows that. Kieran knows that. The main actors know that. So that'll happen. But short term, we're looking, and people playing for the futures. Yeah, they are. Yeah. I think you always are. I think you're always playing for your future, because you have that opportunity every time you go out to cement something or to disappoint somebody. And the players have that ability and opportunity to affect their future. And if, let's say, I don't know, one of the players is incredible between now and the end of the season, am I going to look at that favourably? Of course I am. I'm going to say, yeah, he'll do for me on every aspect.
And when we talk about these high pressure games and everything, you make kind of good point there that they're going to work hard, they're going to run around hard. Their commitment is not really a question. It's not. They're professional footballers. That's pretty much a given. So does it then become decision making, clinical, bravery on the ball, those kind of things that will ultimately make the difference in,
Definitely, definitely, and it will do for all those clubs that are in our position. It will do, at the top of the Premier League, and this is why those Liverpool and Man City find those big moments. They find that Trent Alexander finds that pass, Kevin De Bruyne finds that finish. That's why they are top players. And if you want to be a top player in the Championship, you may not find that moment as many times as the top players, but you've still got to find that moment in everything, from a mentality point of view, from a physical point of view. You have to have that desire to get into that position. And as I said, heat maps on pitches, they've been incredible over the last 4 games, and we've played 3 out of the last 4 teams, the top teams. We've not, no disrespect, we've not got, it's not like we've played 3 out of the bottom 4 sides and been absolutely murdered, and goalkeepers making save after save, and we're all over the place and we're absolute shambles. We've not been, and I should imagine from your point of view, my point of view, and majority of supporters' point of view, they're scratching their head really here and looking at it and going, dear me, we've got to find those moments, and we only can find those moments from within. This pressure, I put players under pressure. I'm a demanding manager. It's worked for me in the past, so I'll trust that my methods going forward will work. And players have got to deal with that. They've got to deal with, You know, if they want me to be, oh, it doesn't matter, unlucky. You got another 3 or 4 opportunities to do it. You know, don't worry about it. There you go. There's your, you know, unlucky. See you later. Bye. We're in a cutthroat profession. You know, I'm a demanding manager, and they've got to produce big moments, and they've got to produce that moment that says it's 2 in the wall, it's not 3, and I'm going to stand here and I'm going to prevent that from happening. That allows us to go and score that first goal, or that final ball. I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
I'm going to find that Tavernier finish at Peterborough. I'm going to find that Isaiah Jones cross at Blackpool.
Yeah.
I'm going to find that Duncan Watmore finish at Huddersfield. Players have got to take responsibility and got to find those big moments, because we've had enough of the ball, enough territory, enough crosses, enough entry in the final third, enough passes in the final third. For us to not score in 4 games is ridiculous, let alone head scratching.
And yeah, the ridiculous thing amongst all of that is that by Saturday night, the whole thing could be turned upside down. You could be looking at the league table and you could be saying, well, Boro are now the ones that, you know what?
Yeah, I've got to say, Huddersfield and Luton have done fabulously well over the last 2 or 3 games. Forest, I think we all know that it's a juggernaut, and then underneath, everybody else looks as if they're tripping over themselves not to get in the playoffs. I think it looks as if everybody else wants to go on holiday and don't want to be involved in playoffs. I think everybody's booked their holiday for that Monday morning after the Preston game. It looks as if they have. So there's a question going around all the clubs that are in that position. Millwall have come with a fabulous, great run. So, like we said, if maybe we'd have lost a few games and we'd have come with that run, we'd everybody been sat in here.
The mood feels very different.
Of course, everybody.
The clubs are pretty much in an identical position.
Everybody would be sat in here and going, this has been incredible what's gone off. We've gone from this position to this. We've got from the quarter-final of the FA Cup. What a fabulous season. So we can't derail it, but we can look at what we haven't been good at, and rightly so, but we can offer optimism and encouragement that at our best, we can go and get a result on Saturday. If we do get a result, it's talk, it's cheap, got to go and do it. If we do get a result, then all of a sudden the picture changes, and then we're going into the last 3 games of the season. Teams are going into the last 2 games of the season, and like I said, anything can happen.
Good luck.
Cheers.
Just one.
Hi, Carl.
Hi, mate. I take it there's nothing new with the meeting with the chair. It's more reassurance than
Yeah, I talk after every game. I talk to him on Tuesday. Do we need, on Tuesday morning? He was incredibly encouraging. He's been incredibly supportive. He knows what character I am. Do we need to have a chat? No, I don't need to have a chat. It's speculation. That's what it is. Nothing's gone off. We crack on, and then we have a meeting yesterday, and we talk through it about the plans and whatever. And it's that's the way it is.
Has that work already started?
Incredibly so, yeah. We're deep into that. We're deep into position specifics, what we want, characteristics of positions, and we go from there. Like I said, and even going on that, everything's hypothetical, isn't it, in terms of what might happen, in the future. But he knows about me, I know about him. Anything that happens from him, I'm sure he speaks to me, and vice versa. We've got that relationship, and the biggest relationship is that we both want to give absolutely everything, maximum, to win games of football for Middlesbrough.
And the common denominator is that you both want to get in the Premier League.
100%.
He hasn't lost that ambition.
He hasn't lost that ambition. He knows what it takes. He's been there before. He knows and he understands the rebuild, the players that we need to bring in, and the work that needs to happen. The work that needs to happen in and around Rockcliffe, bits and pieces, not knocking it down and rebuilding it, but things to help the players, and certain bits and pieces that my ideas regarding this place, and certainly my ideas on which is the biggest thing, is on recruitment and who's going to go on the journey with us. Cheers, Carl. Hey, mate.
I think we've already sold a few thousand tickets for Preston. So big commitment from supporters to go to the end is the same commitment from everyone in the club that we just keep going to make this.
100%. You know, if the results don't go right, well, I've got, you know, we're not going out the back door here. You know, every game's huge for this football club, regardless of pre-season friendly. But you'll get to know that. You know, we want to win. We want to do our best, regardless of pre-season friendly. You know, I said it before. Whether it's a 23s, whether it's a behind closed doors game, I want the best. I've set high standards for the team. You know, at times we've met them. At times we've just dipped a little bit short, which I think we have just dipped a little bit short. They've not been incredibly horrendous. I've said to the players all along, you know, the disappointment thing is I would take out the Sheffield United game. Really, you know, quite a lot of the defeats and the results that we've not got have been self-inflicted. So we need to cut that out. We need to start hurting ourselves. But right to the end, you know, we want to make that Preston game a huge game for the football club. And to make that a huge game, we've got to make sure that we affect the next 3 games leading up to that. You know, I don't want 3,000 Middlesbrough punters at Preston. I want 15,000 Middlesbrough punters at Preston, and I think they would be there's no doubt about it. I think if there's something on that game, I think that they'll be all over the ground. I think there'll be 15,000 Middlesbrough punters, and they'll be outside. And I think that's the appetite that they've got for their team to do well. The responsibility now is to make sure that myself and the players, you know, making sure that there's 15,000 Middlesbrough punters, because we've won games of football and we make that game something and something's on it.
And because last season we couldn't come to the matches. So this season we've got an opportunity to make this a really special time with these last 4 games, haven't we? Because the whole year fans couldn't go to the matches.
I think in that period, I think everybody's recognised what football means to everybody, especially in this part of the world. You know how centre it is of everything that happens. I've said it before. You know, it's the one love. The football club's the one love for the area. Everywhere you go, you know, I live in the area. Everybody you see, support the Boro. You know, well done. What happened there? This, that, and the other. You can't get away from it. I don't want to get away from it, because it shows you the sort of the passion that they've got for the football club and how emotionally attached they do get to it. Whether, you know, it is a win, whether it's a loss, whether there's something happened with the manager, whether there's something happened with the player, they have an opinion and they get tied into it. So that isn't a criticism. That comes with the territory, and I'd rather have it that way than it be a library. And it certainly isn't a library. And like I said, the period that we didn't have football, I was still involved in it. It was a non-event. It was a complete non-event. For me, they should have an asterisk next to that season, because the game is nothing without the supporters. And whether you're going through the good times, and sometimes when you're going through the dip and people have an opinion on you and you're critical of what you said or what you've not said or the results that you've not got, you have to take that on the chin. But I'd rather take that on the chin than not have that opinion and not have that support inside a stadium, because, you know, I just imagine Dewsy went and some of you guys went, it was just soulless. And football is not a soulless game, is it?